Hey everybody, welcome to Road to Becoming a Programmer, where we take you, the viewer, and make you a full-on programmer. Now in today's video, we're going to be making a survey for application for permission to date my daughter. So we're going to be making this web page right here. We're going to be making it with using all the things that we've learned in our previous video. So if you haven't watched that, make sure to go ahead and watch that one. But basically, yeah, that's it. We're going to be using text boxes. We're going to be using select, date, checkboxes, and all that, and text areas as well. So make sure to watch the whole video, and thank you for clicking on this video. Make sure to like, subscribe, comment down below if you had any trouble, if any problems with the video, and yeah, I'll see you in the next one. Okay, so here we are in Visual Studio Code as always, and I've just created a survey HTML file and a style CSS file, and the style CSS is linked to our survey. So I've called it survey because we're going to be making a survey web page. And I've written this line of code right here, these two lines, and that I've talked about in my previous videos, but basically just make it where there's zero margin on our web page. Now this is the original site, and this is the code for our original site that we're gonna be trying to emulate and make a site like that. So let's go ahead and look at what the actual site that we're trying to copy looks like. If we can load, and let's give this a sec. Okay, so here we are. So this is the original site that we're trying to make something like, and you can see it right here. It's got all the standard elements that you've seen in forms that I talked about in my previous video. So this is the our web page that's completely empty right now. And if I type something like hello, you can see that there's zero margin. It just attached to the top left of the web page because of the CSS that we wrote. So anyways, now let's start actually making our survey. So first of all, we create a div. We give it a class heading. So we're gonna put the beginning section and before we get to the form part in this div. So this application for permission to date my daughter, and the note below that. So we're gonna put that in an h1. Once we do that, we're gonna create a paragraph to put this text inside of, like that. Just copy and paste it. Now we're gonna use B to make our note bold. And once we've done this, we're gonna get into the actual field set and form for for the personal details form. So now we're gonna start actually creating the form or the real survey. So we're gonna create another div. This time we're gonna start with field set, and we're gonna go legend, because I talked about this in my previous video. It has this legend right here that we can only create by using the legend element, legend tag. And we use B again and put personal details in there because it's in bold. Now we're gonna just add our other text boxes as well as our labels. So we're gonna create a form first that links to server.php, and then we're gonna use the method get. Once we've done that, we're gonna try to create our first text box, which we're gonna put inside a div. So we use the label with the for attribute and give it the value of username, and then we later on create a text box with the ID of username, so that's linked to our label. So now, if you watch my previous video, you would notice. So basically, if you just click on label now, it's gonna make it where we can start typing our text box, or if we just click on our text box. So yeah, we're gonna use placeholder so that we can have some default text in there, just like the original site. And it says enter your name here, so we're just gonna write the exact same text. So now if we save that and go check our site, you can see that it looks exactly like the one here. Of course, we haven't added CSS, so it doesn't look exactly the same, but the HTML part does. We're gonna create another label. This one is gonna be for our address, I believe. Yeah, our address. Yeah. So address, it's kind of like name, so I just decided to use the input type of the value text, just to have a very generic text box for it. And sorry, my my Visual Studio kind of screwed up here, but yeah. So we added name, ID as always, and placeholder. And again, if you don't understand anything in this video, just make sure to watch my previous one. I talked about everything that you see in this video, so there isn't anything brand new in this video. It's just that we're making a very standard survey using all the elements and stuff that we learned in the previous video. So now we're going to create another one. This one is going to be for email. We know that email works similar to our a standard text box. The only difference is that you have to actually enter an email, and if you don't and you try to submit, you get an error saying that you're supposed to enter an email. And we use the usual ID and name. So now we're gonna create another div. This time it's gonna be for, let's see, for phone number. Now for phone numbers, we're supposed to use the tel, I believe, the tel value for our type, our input type. So we're gonna create a div as always, and these divs are gonna come in super handy when we decide to actually, add padding and margin in our CSS section to put some space between them. So definitely make sure to put all of this inside each text box and label inside inside its own div. So now we have phone number, input. We're gonna put number this time, but number isn't the correct one for this one because I don't know why I wrote number here, but basically it's better to use tel. You could use number, of course, but yeah, that number would really make sense here and would really work because you're supposed to enter a 10-digit number. So yeah, I'm gonna change this now to tel. Right, now then, so we have that working. Now we're gonna do the next one for IQ. And the server is asking us what our IQ is, and of course we're gonna put the placeholder to give it a value of enter 10-digit number. So that done, let's go ahead and create another div. This time it's gonna be for IQ, and we're gonna create a label first. And you're gonna give it a for value of IQ of uppercase IQ. And this time we're gonna be using number because it's the only it's the one that would make more sense since we're trying to ask the user about their IQ. And again, as always, ID, name, and use some placeholder as well. So yeah, so here's the thing, guys. I recommend that you go and try to make your own form pages. I'm gonna leave a link in the description for where I got this, but basically where I got this original site from. But basically, just go ahead and try to master this. This is something that I recommend that you do with everything coding related. Just try to write it as much as you can. Try to solve different problems or find different projects or find different ways, different aspects to use a certain element or certain coding idea or certain coding technology till you just get the hang of it. You just can't fail anymore. It's become a part of your muscle memory. But yeah, anyways, we're going to continue. This time we're going to be creating the radio button. Now, if you don't know why we're creating a radio button here, just pause the video and try to guess. Try to guess why we're choosing radio buttons instead of something like checkboxes. So I hope you actually paused the video and did that. But basically the answer is that, we're using radio buttons because it's asking us what our gender is, and there's only 3 options and you can only choose one of these 3 options. So because of using radio buttons, which make it where we can only choose one of our options. So we've created a div with an input with the type value of radio. We created an ID and name as always. And if you notice, the ID isn't something like gender, it's called male. And the reason for this is because if we try to use our label for it and both of or all 3 of our options or have the same ID, but that's gonna make things really complicated and it's not gonna really work. I showed that in my previous video where I did do that on intention to show that what happens if you create a radio button where you have 2 labels and they both link to the same the first option that has one ID. But we're not gonna make that mistake this time. So you can see that if I click on male works, if I click on female, only female works. And I'm just gonna add an other option as well to make it look like the original site. I will say I kind of find this sort of thing is kind of cute. I will say instead of trying to make something that's like very bog standard and boring, trying to find projects like this, guys, something that's just fun to do, fun to read, fun to type, that sort of thing. Like this is a web page where a father, I guess, has made so we can ask the user if they want to date their daughter, and I guess they want their daughter, but a survey for what their job is, what they're doing, what sort of education they have, what political side they're on, that sort of thing. But yeah, we're gonna create another one. This one's gonna be for date, and this one's gonna be pretty easy. All we have to do is just copy this, put it in the label, and then create an input with the type value of date and give it an ID and name as always. And we don't need we obviously don't want to use placeholder for this input for obvious reasons. But anyways, so yeah, that's it. And so this is gonna be the end of our very first field set. Now keep in mind, we want to have all of this inside one single div in all of our field sets. So we can give it a white background later on in our CSS. So what you want to do is that you want to create another field set, but it's going to be in the same overall div. And we're going to add margin to it as well, of course. And guys, if you don't understand anything in this video, you feel confused, just go ahead and watch my previous video where I just go in details, go in depth, talking about everything that you've seen. So here we are, we're going to create an h3. And so we can put this text inside of it, check all that apply, and obviously I want you to pause the video and try to guess what we're going to be using here, but it's going to be obviously checkboxes. We're going to use checkboxes because we want the users to be able to choose multiple options. For example, if they want to, they can choose all the options, or if they want to, they can choose just one of the options. That's perfectly fine. So here we're just gonna take the first one, just copy and paste it, and this is something that I recommend you guys do instead of actually typing all the stuff that you see in there. Just copy and paste it because why not? And if you ever get confused about something, or you're get stuck trying to write code for a project, just go ahead and inspect it. Just inspect the code. You can do it with almost any browser. Just see what's inside the original web page's code, and try to copy that. There's nothing wrong with that. So we have our 2 options, and as you can see, we can choose both of them at the same time, and they work just fine. So we're going to create another div, and again, please make sure to put all of this inside the div, because later on it's going to be a pain in the ass if you don't put them in div and you want to install them, add some space in between them, add some padding or margin. It's going to be nightmare. So put all of these inside the div. So it's all well organized and super easy to install. I was trying to type folder, but that didn't go well. Anyways, oh, by the way, guys, tell me if you want me to make a video about CSS selectors, because that's what I'm thinking about making a video on. And after that, I wanna, once I've done making a video about CSS selectors, I think I wanna dive, more deeply into CSS and less into HTML. I think I've, made enough videos on HTML for now. I wanna, talk about flexbox and positioning and box model and grid, that sort of stuff, and media queries, because there's stuff that a little more advanced. But yeah, I think I'm ready to tackle that on this channel. So definitely let me know in the comment section below if that's something that you're interested in. Also, we just hit 30 subscribers, 31 subscribers. So thank you to everybody for helping us reach this goal. But anyways, back to the project. So that's it for our checkboxes, I guess. We just created it, and now we're going to create another field set, just like the original one. And yeah, the field set's working fine. It's going to be for this section, the political persuasion, not persecution. Okay, so I'm just gonna go ahead and fast forward this part because it's just a basic text area as well as selection word select and then options inside of it. And I talked about this in my previous video, but basically I just want to show you with a proper looking example. So now we're creating our button here, and we're going to be using the A element. But of course, you could just use the button element instead. But I prefer using A. And again, you don't have to make it exactly like the original. We're trying to make something that's kind of like it. But I prefer using the anchor tag. But a button tag would make more sense in this case if you want to make it exactly like the original one. And the original one does use button. I checked its code. So now we have border for it. We're gonna add border, and it's gonna be color red, so it doesn't look jarring. But of course, you could have just added black. I think that would have looked better actually in this case. We're gonna add border radius so we can make it where it's not a full triangle. It looks a bit more. Its edges are changed a little bit, so it looks a lot better now. So yeah, that's it for. I'm just gonna put it at the inside of our paragraph, so doesn't move to the next line. And yeah, we're just gonna create the submit button at the end. So now we're gonna create the submit button, and again, it's gonna be pretty easy. We just create a div, give it the class submit because we're gonna use it later on to style it, and then we create our input. It's gonna be typed submit, and we're gonna give it the value of, let's say, what was it in the original site? Let's check actually. Send your application, right? So we're gonna type in send your application. So that's what's shown inside of our button. Send your application. And once we save this and go back, you can see that's get this button, and yeah, that's basically it. And as you can see, if you use email, which is what happened in the original one, you have to actually put an email and for it to send the information. But yeah, so that's it for our code. Now what we'll do is want to add required to our email and our name, because in the original site it's required for you to input your name and your email. Okay, so here we are, the final minute to the end of the video. I just added some styling to our web page, our survey page, so that it looks similar to the original one. And as you can see, everything is working like it should. Yeah, it doesn't look exactly like the original one, but I want this video out by Sunday. So, and also, I kind of wanted to make it look the way I want, and not exactly. It doesn't have to be exactly like the original one. But again, it was mostly just me being lazy here in this case. So we're just gonna fill out our survey. We created this whole project. You might as well just enjoy it. I'm just gonna fill the survey with some random stuff. They're not actually super random, they're my own information. IQ of -200. And I'm just gonna set date, something. Yeah, this makes total sense. I don't think I need to talk anymore. I'm just gonna let it display for itself. Wow, I just can't fill in any of these checkboxes. Of course not. Can you imagine if someone would actually make this though? That'd be pretty funny. Someone actually made a survey for wanting to go on a date with their dog.